Greetings fellow crafters and VBS directors. This is my part 4 video. I'm Nicole and I'm showing you how to build a coral rock structure for whatever your decorating needs are. Excuse me as I'm staring into the blinding sun. It's one of those rare nice days here in Alaska and I'm glad I could show you this outside. So first, when you want to set up your rock structure for your craft, you want to think about how you're going to store this if you are going to store this. If you're going to build this as is and tear it down, then you don't need to worry about this part. But for us, we're going to reuse these down the line, and we have an attic hatch in our church that's only a certain size. So I want to take that into account when I'm building these coral rocks. So I first measured the opening to the hatch, which I then reduced it down 1 inch just to give myself a little bit of wiggle room, and for me that is 26 inches by 21 inches. So I took a piece of cardboard and cut that out with my measurements using permanent markers, box cutters, tape measure to roughly the size I can use for the opening to store it up through the attic hatch without much difficulty when I'm done with this project. So this is my minimum size, or I should say maximum size, I can build my rock structure. So this is my base template, because I can build it as tall as I want. So using that as my rough template, I then have all my boxes that I've saved up. Now you can build one rock or you can build multiple rocks. You just need to think about how you're going to do it. So in this case, I have here, pardon me, I have a sprained ankle, but a little ungraceful on my feet. If I'm going to have this be an end rock for multiple, which behind me I have a segment of 4 rocks, so let's say this is my end piece, I'm going to stick it in this far corner being where I'm going to set up my next rock. So I'm going to build up, line that up, and that gives me a rough edge where I can build up my foam and my sea creatures as I come up along the rock structure. As I build these, you're going to want to duct tape them together. Now, I made the mistake of using an excessive amount of duct tape. I made sure I had every single creased edge completely duct taped. I found that the spray foam I used didn't really like to adhere to that, so you want to be a little lenient with your duct tape. Only use just amount that you need to get the boxes to stick to each other. On the back side though, you can use as much duct tape as you want. It won't matter. This is the part you're not going to see. Excuse me, knocking them over. So you can use as much as you want on the back side and on the jointing side. They're not going to be seen. Also, you're going to want to use a strong duct tape, not a general light duct tape. It'll end up peeling off your cardboard. So you want to get some extra strength duct tape for connecting the boxes together. When you use your smaller boxes to break up the big shapes of your boxes, if you use your cereal boxes, they're very smooth. Your foam won't want to stick to this either. So if you have that set up at different points of your rocks, as you're going through with your Great Stuff spray foam, which is a lot of fun to use by the way, always wear gloves when you're using this stuff and not nice clothes because it is incredibly sticky. So make sure you have a tarp down underneath you when you're doing this project. As I was going through and using these, and once one was out, I ended up taking one of the old ones that I have already used up and just taping it on the side of my cereal box portions or large expanse portions just to have the spray foam have something it can grip halfway up as I'm spraying it. It's just, you want something for it to grab onto when it has a long way to travel to get to the next horizontal plane. So I just ended up saving my old ones, doing a quick little piece of tape, taping it to the side of my cereal boxes at an angle, and that gave it something to grip on to keep going. Just a little trick I was using along the way. Another trick I was using is while I was using the spray foam, I used it in an upside down manner as I was spraying, and that seemed to work a lot better with it upside down. So I used about 3 cans per rock structure. Really, it could maybe even use just 2. Depends on how big you build them. And for some of the edges, I took a pair of box cutters and I cut it to break up some of the sharper points of the larger boxes. And then I used the back side of the box cutter to just kind of to score the cardboard along up to the points I cut. And that allowed me to bend in the corners. And then I used a little piece of tape just to kind of help break up some of the angular shapes so it doesn't look like a stack of boxes and actually rocks. So I kind of did that on some of my edges of the rocks. If you have too many underside ledges where you're starting to go upside down, you're going to have to spray foam in 2 segments. You're going to have to do kind of your horizontal and vertical portions first, and then later come back after it's dry. Lay your whole project down onto its back to get that underside pieces, because you're going to be fighting gravity and it won't let you do it. And if you do something as bold as an actual archway, you're definitely going to have to lay it down to do those undersides, because you have too much of it upside down and you're going to be using more foam too. But these only cost about $3.50 a can, less than $4. So if you're using up to 3 per your rock structures, it's not breaking the bank with the spray foam stuff. It works pretty great. So going on to our rock structure behind me. Follow me as I get my way over. So this I have set up into 4 segments that will work great of being able to remove and take up into the attic. This box even has a handle grab, which makes it even great. You can kind of cut one side of your box. But you're going to want to set them all up with your build up against each other, kind of marking where you're going to have them connected. I tried this Tyvek tape that I had extra lying around from another project to see that if it would help them not sticking. It ended up not really making a difference. So once you have what you're going to be building all set up next to each other, you're going to want to spray them all together in one project. That way it gives the rocks a continuity when they're together. After they're dry, then you can cut them up into those segments. And how you're going to want to do that is in 2 parts. One is at the bottom. You are going to want to duct tape the 2 pieces together and then do a clean cut, because when you set them side by side, I promise you there'll be a gap. So duct tape them together and then cut them. And then I did a wavy mark and removed the excess pieces to make a really nice front piece. So I have that set up at the bottom portion of it. Then on the rock portion, you're going to want to use a metal hacksaw blade. Now you're going to want to use it without the handle. So you're going to want to make sure you have some gloves, just because you're going to be gripping it pretty good and you don't want it to cut your hands with it. So grab a set and come around on the back side here. There's a couple things to note when you're spray foaming. One of my rocks here, since I did an archway, kind of pulled away from the other rock, so I had a big gap. So I used the lid of an egg carton and I held it in place in between the rocks as I spray foamed. And then once it gripped, I could let go of it. So that was kind of like my spacer, because it was something easy that I could cut through when I was done. So when you're along the backside, using this blade, it's long enough to follow in between the cardboard boxes. It acts as a guide when you can't see the gap between the boxes. So as you work your way through, cutting it, you come around to the front and just follow your way down. that all the way down to the bottom. As you can see, I have it duct taped together here, so I'm gonna use a pair of scissors or box cutters, cut that straight, and it will give me a nice clean cut like I have here. So now that I have these nice clean cuts, I can now paint my rock structures that gray color, and then once that is painted, then I can glue all the other little sea creatures that we've been building throughout these past couple weeks and see how it all is brought together. And I think this is going to look a lot of fun. I can't wait to see the finished product. If any of you are doing some of these, I'd love to see some of your pictures of what you're making. Even if it's not for an underwater VBS scene, I'd love to see what you're doing for those of you that can. I know during this time a lot of you are doing virtual VBS or postponing it till next year, and I understand that, but these are a lot of fun, and I hope you're having fun doing crafting too. So have a good day.